Fox News continues to be in the headlines. Tucker's firing, the $787 million Dominion settlement, and talk of big changes at Fox. Few know the Fox network better than my next guest, Elizabeth Ailes, or Beth to her friends. Beth is the wife of the late Roger Ailes, the man who was the founding chairman of Fox News, the man who made Fox the giant it became. Roger Ailes was a close friend of mine, and so is Beth. Few of you knew Roger Ailes, but he impacted your lives in small and big ways. At the age of 25, he was running one of the great daytime talk shows, The Mike Douglas Show. And in 1967, in Cleveland, he meets Richard Nixon, who was a guest on the show and running for president. Ailes explains to Nixon how he can do better on TV, and that would be critical for him to win. Nixon listens. He hires Roger and wins the presidency in 1968. Roger was the guru that put Nixon and many other presidents into the White House. He advised President Reagan, then both Bushes. Roger was a kingmaker. And when he started Fox in 1996 with Rupert Murdoch, it became an almost overnight success. Roger discovered people like Bill O'Reilly, Megyn Kelly, Sean Hannity, and even a guy named Eric Bolling. True story. But Roger knew his success was outside the Beltway, the forgotten Americans like you and me in flyover country. People New York and Hollywood elites don't think matter. And a man named Donald Trump came along and skyrocketed because Fox News and Roger Ailes gave him a platform. But in 2016, Roger and Fox parted ways. Frankly, I think his firing and Tucker Carlson's firing had the same ultimate reason: Donald Trump. Ailes championed a strong, free, and secure America. And Rupert Murdoch's kids never liked Roger, and they didn't like Tucker, and they really disliked Donald Trump. Fox is fast becoming establishment. It's joining the club, and outside the club, we're all deplorables. So no surprise, Rhino Paul Ryan was given a seat on the Fox board, and Ryan is still there. Roger's gone. Tucker's gone. Dan Bongino gone. Lou Dobbs gone. And they want Trump gone, too. Full disclosure, I spent more than 11 years at Fox News, parting amicably in 2017. Since then, the new Fox News, well, let's just say it's not Roger Ailes' Fox News. And today, in a world exclusive, The Balance, we welcome Beth Ailes, Roger Ailes' beloved widow, in her first TV interview. Beth, welcome. You made a lot of news. A lot of buzz happened earlier in the week when you said and you tweeted it took 20 years for Roger, your husband, to build Fox News into a powerhouse, and only 6 years for the Murdochs to wreak havoc. Please expand on that.
Well, I think I caused quite a stir because, for one thing, I told the truth. And truth is in short supply today. As you know, it did take Roger 20 years to build the channel. And he never once had his hand off the wheel. He had his 8 o'clock call, his 2:30 meeting, and he was always in touch, even on a rare day that he might take a day off. And I think it just came over me on Monday because it was his birthday, and I don't really know what possessed me, but I decided to make it clear that I think that Rupert thought that he could do Roger's job. Remember, 2 weeks after Roger left in July of 2016, Rupert moved into his office. My mother used to say that Rupert was jealous of Roger. You know, Roger married me. I was 20 years his junior. Rupert went out and married someone 30 or 40 years his junior. We built a house in the Hudson Valley. He went out and got a house on Center Island. There were things that happened. Zach was born in 2000. He then had 2 children later. So maybe there is something to that. But I do know that Roger made running Fox News look easy. And as you know, it was anything but. Rupert has the checkbook, he has the money, but he couldn't hold a candle to Roger in terms of genius. And the ideas that Roger put forth back in '96, fair and balanced, we report, you decide, that was a challenge to the establishment mainstream media, who thought that just because they said they were objective, people would take them at their word. And we all know that they were very liberal all that time. So Roger upset the apple cart.
You mean the Murdochs, Rupert and the sons, James and Lachlan, I assume that you mean are liberal. In the last couple of years since Roger's passing, the Murdochs have moved, and I believe it's because the sons have taken a bigger role, have moved to the center and maybe even pushed left. And, you know, it almost feels like they're trying to capture the CNN audience. What are your thoughts on that?
My thought is that I go back to July of 2016 when events unfolded. And after 20 years of running the channel and turning it into a $20 billion asset, throwing off $2 billion in profits, the sons, Lachlan and James, had decided that they wanted Roger gone. And Roger said to me, these useless kids, Tweedledum and Tweedledummer, are going to ruin the channel and turn it into CNN. And that's exactly what's happening.
You know, Beth, we beat CNN. We beat CNN 3 of the last 4 nights, and it is because they don't know that the liberal media is lost, and Fox for some reason wants to join that club. I can't figure it out. You know, a lot of the recent success of, let's be honest, of this network, of the show, is when Fox fired Tucker Carlson. The audience said, "All right, that's enough. We're done with you, Fox." Would Roger Ailes have fired Tucker Carlson?
No, he would have been very much involved in Tucker's, how he was positioning his shows, just as he was with Bill O'Reilly. Whenever there was something controversial or something big came up, he was always very much in touch with the talent, never telling them what to do or how to say something, but rather how to keep everybody in their lane, if you will. And I think that, you know, the greatness that Roger achieved, it speaks for itself. People in the know what he did.
Beth, have you heard from Tucker Carlson?
I've spoken with him a few times, yes.
Since the firing?
Just to give him some insight. No, just to give him some insight into what I think is going to happen next. Because not many people have survived this kind of the attacks that the Murdochs unleash on those that once brought them great fame and fortune. When they've decided that they're ready to discard you, it's quite unbelievable. I think that Roger never expected Rupert to treat him in the way that he did. You know, he basically Soviet retconned Roger out of the history of Fox News, so that at the 20th anniversary, when Roger was still alive, October 2016, Rupert called and said, "Oh, thank you so much, Roger. You know, thank you for everything you did." And Roger said, "I don't know how you ever got through the 20th anniversary of the channel without once mentioning my name." And Rupert said, "Oh, well, everybody knows what you did." But then by the 25th anniversary of the channel, he was gone for good, and Rupert had named a studio after himself. And I think that speaks to the size of the ego of the patriarch of the family, that he thinks he could excise Roger Ailes out of existence, and that the children, the minor Murdochs, if you will, they thought that they could help their father achieve that goal. And so I'm very grateful for you to have me on tonight, just so that I can remind everyone what a great American Roger was. You know, great men are outrageous, they're creative, they're original, and people hate them for that.
Roger was all of that. Roger was all of that. Another person that you could say.
And so is Donald Trump, by the way.
That's where I'm going with that. Exactly. Donald Trump, the same mold. Tell us a little bit about that relationship. Donald Trump has said, if I had Roger Ailes back in 2020, I would have won the 2020 presidential election. How is that relationship? Tell us about that.
Well, they were friends for a very long time, way before Fox News. And in fact, if you go on Google and go to the Ailes archives, Roger did an interview with Donald when he was doing a show on America's Talking. And Roger asked him, do you think you'd ever run for president? And Donald said, you know, Roger, I don't know if anybody's ready for the truth. And the fact is, you know, we are, as a country, our government, our culture it feels like it's in a state of free fall. But it's been happening slowly for the last 30 years. And you need strong leadership, and you need people who can tell it like it is. And I think that the only person on earth closest to Roger is Donald Trump. They were cut from the same cloth. It's God, family, country. Their vision of America is that it has fed more and freed more than any other country on earth. And God help us in a world where America is not the leader on the world stage. Mm-hmm. Their views are unwavering, they're unshakable in their beliefs, and that's what America needs, not more, you know, there's just too much hate and cynicism, which some would say was caused by Fox News, but I would beg to differ.
Beth, very quickly, I just have a minute or so, and I want to go back to something I think the audience is really begging to know or needing to know. When you spoke to Tucker, did he indicate what his next plan may be?
No, he did not. He was just, you know, candidly surprised at how it all went down. And so I think, you know, I think he shared Roger's disbelief that it was just unbelievable. As I have a favorite columnist at the American Spectator, and he writes a morning column, and he wrote, you know, usually when you have the top ratings at the network, you get to keep your job. Not so much in this case. So who knows if it was a wink and a nod with Dominion. But the world is poorer for Roger Ailes' passing, which is actually 6 years ago today. And it's poorer for the lack of debate and ability to have other points of view presented with Tucker. And I hope and I know he'll land on his feet and be better off.
Indeed, indeed. Beth, I'm going to say thank you, and I will just relate to the audience. I've known Beth a long time. I knew Roger, who did. He picked me out from NBC and said, come on over. And I'll never forget the conversations I had with Roger in his office about our sons, your son Zachary, my son Eric Chase. Beth Ailes, thank you for being here.
All right. You're welcome. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.